Yeah.
Well, and I think that
I'm here for all that. Let's break it. Okay, so you can.
Morning.
So you're- It won't go very far.
You got these 6 years each.
Uh,
And the start of the
Yeah.
Did you survive the weekend?
I
did. I was being facetious on Saturday, and I said, today, because I figured that was the last time we spent all weekend.
Hello there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was okay. In fact, they canceled yesterday.
Oh, good.
So we had Saturday,
Yeah.
accident investigation, radar.
We have no sound or picture. There we go.
Upside down.
You need, truly, you need to come and spend 2 or 3 days with them to see what they do.
Yeah.
Good and maybe good to come.
Oh, you know, it's on.
I got two.
Some of this was pretty interesting.
Good morning. As chair of the Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District Board of Commissioners, I'd like to welcome you to this January meeting. Today is January the 17th, and it is 9:02. I'm a little bit late. Let's stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Commissioner Surratt, would you call the roll, please?
Chairperson Childers,
Here.
Vice Chairman Dyer,
Here,
Secretary Phyllis Surratt, here. Commissioner Larry Stamps,
Here.
Commissioner Ken Brown.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. I declare that we have a quorum. Commissioners, you've had an opportunity to look at the agenda. I need to have a motion to approve or amend the agenda, please.
I move we approve the agenda.
Commissioner Dyer has moved to approve the agenda.
Second.
Commissioner Brown seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we're at minutes. We need to approve our minutes from December the
There is no sound.
Is that you? You stole Dave Mullen's phone?
Thank you.
You stole Dave Mullen's work computer. Something like that. Really, the work this show's computer, yeah. So, yesterday, Ryan, you'll appreciate this, and Yeoman, as a new tech owner, you'll appreciate this. So here, I'm gonna head it back to hang out so I can hear myself. So I put out an SOS because I've got these 2 hounds here, these little.
Hey, happy.
And they smell like fish. I don't really know how else to describe the scent of my dog other than very fishy. There's a very fishy scent sitting here at my feet, and all I smell is fish. And so I put out an SOS, and I have Brian
from the lake. We walked to the lake constantly. Tourists were coming and going all the time because it was a water town. So I would watch a crime spike up during summer, slow down during the winter. This town reminds me so much of it. That was one of the first things I told my parents when I moved here. This town actually reminds me so much that my wife and I come up here and visit a lot, and we only live 20 minutes away, but it feels like we're in a different world. So thank y'all for what you do in this town. One thing I want to tell real quick, and I've got 3 minutes and we'll wrap it up. I want to actually brag about a man that's with me today. His name is Lieutenant Jeff Einsel. He looks very unhappy because I got him up early this morning. He's right over there. He is a patrol lieutenant. That man right there has agreed that when elected, he will continue to work with me as my number 3, actually get promoted. He's had over 30 years experience. I know I look young. I am a little young. I'm 38 years old. Insurance, 30 years experience. We've got to see a community-driven law enforcement. That's what I'm on. But we can't forget about tradition, about our past, about our history. That's what he keeps. That's why I keep the people that bring that to the table. But that man, the reason I asked him here today was kind of brag about it. Almost a little over a year ago, I'm sure most people in this room have heard, an officer was attacked and almost killed in their city. He fought him off for 15 minutes till backup got there. The man that was high on drugs went through a taser. He went through a whole can of pepper spray and still kept coming at the officer. Called microfractures in his arms and legs. The officer that saved his life was that man right there. I'm the officer he attacked. I'm the officer the very next day after this was on the side of the road helping a woman into a helicopter stand a wreck.
And we thank you for coming in this morning.
That's what I'm asking you to vote for. And 3 minutes is quick, but thank you.
It
very
is
much.
fast, isn't it?
I want to bring Heinzel here to introduce him.
Thank you.
Thank you very
much. Thank you. Do you have any other public comments?
Al saw it, 22 Buckskin Lane. I realize this is on the agenda later, talking about the fees. And I do realize that costs are up this year. I also sometimes look at how some places are raising prices. I wonder if there's a little edge being put in there. We were told that, you're going to raise prices 10 to 15%. But then you recategorize what you call family. So if you look at what was family before, which included children and grandchildren, going up to $300, that's a 71% increase. Just so we have, all the figures out there. Also, I think the board needs to realize that there are a lot of grandparents today that are de facto parents. So how do you determine, if the grandchild is living in a home full time and a grandparent is caring for that child because the parent is working or not in the picture? How do you cut that line between those? Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Selleck. Good morning.
Steve Crow, Ocean Drive. I appreciate Mr. Selleck bringing up grandparents that are being parents again. And I just want to say quickly about the fees that I saw the same thing. What cost me $176 last year now costs me $300 if I want to include my grandchildren when my grandchildren come to visit. If I'm not mistaken, somebody mentioned raising the daily fee if you wanted to pay that way to $10. I believe it was $5 last year. That's a 100% increase. I understand that fees go up, but to increase to 100%, I believe the golf course was asked to do a 10% across the board fee increase. I'm not one of those that wants to see the golf course go away. I know we're going to subsidize it if we're going to have it, but I think you're placing an undue burden on those that use the pool. We spent $25,000 refurbishing a pickleball court that no one pays to use. I'm okay with that. In fact, I throw in with Mr. Stamps that we probably shouldn't be paying to use the pool. That should be paid for with our assessments every year. But I think 100% increase is way out. To kind of put it in perspective, we have a grandson that lives with us And every year we purchase a family pass to Silver Dollar City for all three of us, including guest passes that we can use for his friends during the year for $100 more than what you want to charge us to use the pool. I got a lake right down the street that's free. Less convenient. The wife likes those aerobics and stuff they do at the pool, but I think that I would like for the board to reconsider the increase and possibly even consider making it free gratis, paid for by our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
Morning, I'm Betty Luna. I live across the street at 2 Blue Water Circle. The reason I purchased out here at Holiday Island is because I do love the area. We used to come and visit on a regular basis. I also agree that the attempt to raise the fees as much as you're raising them on the pool, it's out of line, guys. I used the pool 5 times last year. I paid $176 for the family pass. I used it 5 times. $5 is probably a fair price for a daily rate. I think $10 is way too high. I mean, if we wanted to join a community center, I suppose we could do that, and we could take our funds elsewhere. I prefer to support our city, and we are a city now, and I hope to see some more cooperation between HICID and the city. But really, this is an opportunity for us to decide what type of city we have. Are we going to continue to take money from the homeowners that are here? We have a lot of vacation homes here. That's always been here, but we also have a lot of families moving here. We have more people moving here than ever. We had a lot of new builds here. At some point, $800 per family was decided as a fair amenities fee. But with more people coming in and more people paying $800 per family, it seems like you would have more money. At some point, it would seem like our amenity fee should either go down or it should include the use of the pool. That's an amenity. We're going to be receiving state money for our roads, so that's going to be some of the money that's going to be, more money coming in. There's going to be grants available to us as a city. There's enough money without raising fees again. Just because everybody in the world at this point is raising their fees because they can, does not mean that it's needed. And really, I really think in order to remain an active senior community, we need access to that pool. And it should be included as part of our amenity fees, and we should not be charged extra to use the pool. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comments? I have one that was emailed to me that was from a resident who said they would not be able to attend the meeting, but asked if I would read the statement. This is from Dale Kellison, 6 Bandy Drive. He states, I would like to state that as a resident of Holiday Island, while I do realize a need for higher fees for some activity, I do believe that suggested increases are too high, too fast. I'm not opposed to raising fees, but am opposed to the future rates being discussed at this time. All right, thank you. All right, let's move forward. And we have a report from Carroll County Sheriff's Office. Corporal Engel. Good morning.
Hi. So I've got two different stats this month, or this meeting. I've got December's, and then I've got the 2021 year end. I wasn't here in November, so I didn't have November's with me. The only thing that obviously, unfortunately, a lot of you guys heard it is we had a homicide in November, which is huge for Carroll County as a whole, and just really sucks for Holiday Island. But I think everybody knows that otherwise we've got a pretty safe community. And we work pretty hard at patrolling and keeping it safe, but there's just some things that have our hands. But so start off with December. We had 115 calls for service with 11 traffic stops, 2 citations and 9 warnings. We had 4 accidents, 5 alarms, 1 agency assist, 1 animal call, 1 civil call, 2 civil process, 1 commercial burglary. We had 7 domestics, 33 extra patrols. We had 10 follow-ups, 1 fraud, 3 harassments, 1 illegal dumping, 3 motorist assist, 1 noise complaint, 1 vehicle pursuit, 1 reckless driver, 1 residential burglary, 2 suicides, 14 suspicious person or suspicious vehicle calls, 1 theft, 2 threats, 1 unattended death, 2 unattended vehicles, 1 welfare check, 4 911 hangups or open lines, 1 felony arrest and 1 misdemeanor arrest. And then everything combined for the entire year of 2021, altogether we had 2,030 calls for service just in Holiday Island. That was 338 traffic stops, 137 citations with 201 warnings, 84 accidents, 45 alarm calls, 28 agency assists, 21 alarm calls, 2 B&Es, 36 citizen assists, 46 civil calls, 91 civil process calls, and 8 criminal mischiefs, 3 commercial burglary, 5 disorderly conducts, 6 dog bites, 63 domestics. We had 404 extra patrols logged, 15 firework calls, 268 follow-ups, 18 frauds, 1 gas drive-off, 8 gunshots, 24 harassments, 1 suicide, 1 homicide, 1 illegal dumping, 2 intoxicated person calls. We had 7 lost or found properties, 11 missing persons. We had 10 motorist assist, 7 noise complaints, 3 open doors, 3 prowlers, 4 vehicle pursuits. We had 13 reckless drivers, 2 stolen vehicles, or 2 recovery of stolen vehicles, 2 residential burglaries, 2 shoplifting, 3 stolen vehicles, 18 suicide calls, 128 suspicious person, suspicious vehicle calls, 38 thefts, 17 threats, 24 traffic hazard, 1 trash cleanup, 27 trespassing. We had 1 triathlon detail, 9 unattended death, 40 unattended vehicles. We had 2 unauthorized use of vehicles, 7 warrant services, 50 welfare checks, 73 911 hang up, with a total of 26 felony arrests and 35 misdemeanor arrests. So it's at 230 or 2,030 hours, 2,030 calls with 2,386 hours logged and 26,082 miles driven. Now, going over the calls, I'm going to back up a little bit, kind of what Bobby was saying over here. I'm the sole Holiday Island deputy. There's times that calls get handled when I'm not on duty. That day, I wasn't here, and Bobby took that call where he almost lost his life. Where he said that he fought for 15 minutes before backup could get here, because our backup's normally on the other side of the county, Berryville, Green Forest, Alpena. So when it hits the fan, we have no backup. And this community is great. I love it. I get people every day telling me, I've got your back. You know, a lot of people out here can still carry, they have our back. Correct, they do, and I love that, but we can't make that phone call when we're in the middle of a fight. It's not like dispatch and say, hey, call the lady from the hardware store that said she's got my back. You know, like, it doesn't work that way. If you guys saw me at the grocery store or the gas station or in a fight, not a doubt in my mind that somebody would stop. But in those situations, I mean, that started up at the end of Mercury. And it went on through a foot chase. I mean, it was, the dude broke into a home, couldn't kill the homeowner. What I'm getting at is, I know that we've talked about adding another deputy. I don't know where that's at. Don't know if that'll ever happen. Would love it to happen. Because this is a dangerous, dangerous job. And some of the most dangerous things that have happened to us deputies is right here in Holiday Island, period. And to know that if one of those deputies on the other side of the county, in Green Forest or in Alpena, and they call for backup, their backup's probably half the distance away, because that's where a lot of them play. And you've got all your smaller cities over there that come out and play and help out. Out here in Holiday Island, nothing. I don't have backup. And so it's scary, it's dangerous. And I know you guys all appreciate it. There's no doubt in my mind there. You guys love us. And we as an department, we love Holiday Island. And I've been here 3.5 years in this position, and I'll retire here. I mean, you guys know that I'm not going anywhere until retirement time. But just keep an eye out for us. Keep an eye out for your neighbors. There's a lot of, call it bickering, I see on the Nextdoor apps and on Facebook that talk about things that are going on, but people don't call us about these. People will say, hey, look at this complaint on Nextdoor or on Facebook, but we never get notified. So people will gripe about stuff not getting done out here, but nobody ever notifies us. And I'll comment on those pages. Hey, call 911, call the sheriff's office. Like, you can't post something on Nextdoor and expect something to get done by law enforcement. It's just not how it works. But that being said, just keep an eye out for your neighbors. Cell phones, use them, take pictures, take photos. If you see something suspicious, don't hesitate to call. There's never a stupid call, period. I mean, I don't care if we're out here 100 times with the same thing. It's what we're here for, it's what we get paid for.
I'm sure, could I ask a question?
Yes, any questions?
On the domestic disturbance calls, what are usually the results after that? There's man and woman fighting, or the kids are fighting with the mom or whatever. Then after those 7, what's usually the result of, from your perspective?
So a lot of it just depends on the totality of the circumstances. You know, if we get out there and it's just a verbal, a lot of times we will just separate them. You know, whether they separate in the house or whether one can go to another family member's house. Obviously, if there's any signs of domestic battery, if there's injury, anything like that, then we're going to take an arrest. I mean, period. You know, that's the way the law is written. That's the way we're going to enforce it. It's not like a traffic stop. There's not a warning on domestic battery. If there's evidence, you're going to jail.
And what happens if this happens at 9 o'clock at night and your shift ended at 4:30 p.m.?
Then somebody's coming from, they'll call it closest deputy. So I mean, that deputy could be in Eureka, it could be in Green Forest.
Well, that's another quick question is, Eureka with 12 officers, do they also get calls? Do your deputies actually respond to your complaints when they have 12 people in a police force?
Not inside the city, no.
No, okay.
No, we don't respond to any calls inside any city unless we're requested. Like if something goes down in Eureka, and just because Eureka has 12 officers doesn't mean they have 12 on at one time.
Okay.
Like, they're night shift guys, they have 1 to 2, just kind of like what we do.
Right.
So there's times where if they've got a big fight or something going on at one of the bars, yeah, they'll call for assistance.
Okay.
Otherwise, we don't. Now, we may make a traffic stop inside of a city if we're passing through, but we don't respond to calls inside any city.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Corporal, you said that there were 2,300, I think, calls here at Holiday Island.
2030 calls.
2030.
Mhm.
Okay. Any idea what percentage of Carroll County as a whole the call volume is here?
Inside the county, I don't. I only run stats for Holiday Island.
Right.
Now, whenever I do this, I have to go through every single county call. And whenever our dispatcher a call out here, in the little zone of the dispatch log, they're supposed to put HI. But unfortunately, when they're dispatching, they don't always hit the HI tab. And so I have to go through every single call in the county in order to make sure every call was logged.
Now, I realize it'd be labor intensive, but I was just curious what percentage of the total call volume for the county as a whole that we account for.
Quite a few. We get a lot of calls out here.
Yeah.
And I kind of make the joke with these guys. It seems like
There's about 37,000 calls. I mean,
Was it?
I looked at the number the other day, as a whole, the county made between 32 and 35,000 calls.
okay. So roughly 32 to 35,000 calls.
So we'd be about 7% or something like that. Yeah. So, okay.
But I mean, it's just one of those things where, like in the last several weeks, I've worked a lot of. I mean, I've been here till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, just kind of working, especially during the holidays, a lot of our thefts and stuff that come around. Doesn't matter what, if I work a day shift, a night shift, evening shift, things are always gonna happen whenever I'm not here as well. So, but and I make the joke with these guys, because I can work 8 to 4, and by 5 o'clock, there's domestic. But nothing during the day, so it's.
Well, I know you're busy with a whole bunch of other things, but never lose sight of traffic enforcement. And I think as commissioners, we all continue to get a lot of complaints about speeding, especially on Holiday Island Drive and State Line Drive. So, you know, anything that can be done by.
And, you know, we get those as well. They call into the sheriff's office as well. We have a couple people that like to call a lot. And just kind of go back. So like, say a domestic battery call. From the time you get dispatched, you go to the call, you make the arrest, you drive to jail, you do your report, do your probable cause paperwork, you have it notarized, you turn it in. I mean, has to happen shit. That's 4 hours right there by the time it start to finish. And all these fraud cases and theft cases and all that. I don't have time to run traffic. Period. And don't get me wrong, I mean, traffic is important, but it's essentially a victimless crime, to where whenever we're working these cases that, you know, are pretty serious, I just don't have time to run traffic. And there's times that I'll go out there and I'll sit and I make some good traffic stuff. I mean, I wrote several in the last couple of months that were almost 40 miles an hour on the way out of drive, some over. I mean, I got one at 47. But just stupid kid. But unfortunately, that's not always on the top priority with all the other stuff.
No, I understand.
So-
I also remember back to my law enforcement days, many years ago, when we would get complaints about speeding and start doing intensive traffic stops. 9 times out of 10, we got people from right there in the neighborhood. So.
Very rarely is it somebody on the outside. Normally it's a local.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, and I apologize, you are not supposed to be the statistic bearer for everything. But do you have any idea how many total deputies we have deputies we have in Carroll County?
As far as just patrol,
Yeah, not counting the jail, just people that are out in cars.
14 total.
14.
14 total, and that covers 647 square miles, 24/7.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And if you look at me, I'm not really counted on the rest. I mean, like, so I don't have any effect of the schedule and everything else that they do on a daily basis, because I'm strictly here. But so really, outside of me, 13 to cover the entire thing. And that's if we're full staff, and we're not.
And like you said, 24/7, so there's got to be somebody available all of that time. So what are there, 3 to 4 deputies in the whole county on each shift?
If we're lucky.
If you're lucky.
If we're lucky. So Lieutenant Heisel, I've been in law enforcement since 2003. He's the first working lieutenant I've ever been with. I've never had a working lieutenant. A lieutenant in law enforcement most of the time is someone that sits in the office. And he's in the office very, very minimal. He's out there. He makes more arrests than most of our deputies do. Now he pawns off the arrests on whoever else is on shift, but he's a working lieutenant, which is awesome. But we're very fortunate to have that, because we don't have that many. Night shift, like the overnights, the 10 to 6, they may have one person.
For the whole county.
For the whole county. If they're lucky, there's 2.
Yeah. And just one other thing, you said there were 26 felony arrests this year. Just off of the top of your head, do you remember what most of those felonies were for?
Drugs.
Drugs. Okay, that's what I was wondering. All right.
And
Any other questions?
There's no doubt there's a drug problem everywhere in the county. And being right here, this close to Missouri, we get them.
Sure. Commissioners, do you have any other questions for Corporal Engel?
You've been here 3.5 years. How has it increased every year, the crime? Or is it about the same?
No, I think it's about the same. Like, I really don't see much of, like, there'll be times where we'll see more thefts. People leaving their doors unlocked on their cars, people going through and steal stuff out of their cars. But for the most part, it's pretty the average.
Well, that's good.
I haven't seen anything
It's too much,
that's.
but I'm glad it's not increasing every year.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks for what you do.
Yes, thank you for what you do.
Absolutely.
All right, our district manager's report. Mr. Presley.
Yes, ma'am. When we met last time on the Monday, the 10th, a week ago, I had a monthly financial report for you for the end of month, November. That heading is cut off at the top there. I don't know if you can adjust that or not, but there you go. That's year to date, end of the month, November 21. And we work out of a financial system called CenterPoint. CenterPoint is a very powerful software. It will produce many, many different types of reports, but those reports are pretty cryptic, and you have to know what you're looking at to be able to interpret the information in that report. So sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense if you're not familiar with the software. So I've taken those numbers, put them in Excel, and I'll do this each month for the board and convert this data into a spreadsheet like this with some graphs that you can clearly see where we're at. Obviously, it's important that we track our financial situation month to month, and we are working this week to do the year end, the end of December, and then close out 2021. So this is our, can you go back? We're on slide 2. Can you go back one? Use the back arrow. Will that?
In the little white bar. No,
There you
no.
go. Now we're on expenditures.
Oh, we are, yeah.
This is slide 1. So you can see there where our expenditures are by department. And you know, we're actually in pretty good shape. I would like to point out one anomaly here. We are under budget. It's easier if I point up here. We are under budget in all departments except for the fire department. And the fire department is over, but that's intentionally. The fire department was given authorization early in 2021 to add an additional person, at least on a part-time basis, so that we had all the shifts staffed, that we had enough personnel out there on any given day that we could roll the apparatus that we needed, whether it's a motor vehicle accident, a structure fire, rescue, whatever it is. And there were instances in 2020 and earlier in 2021 when we had some type of incident and we didn't have enough personnel to retrieve the apparatus we needed to get out to the scene. So the fire chief was given authorization to add that person. We also had some equipment needs. We had some older equipment that needed repair, it needed tires, a variety of things. And so I authorized the fire chief to go ahead and make those expenditures so that our community's safe. We have certain apparatus that we need to get out there and get to the scene, and we made those repairs. So,
And let me just say, for the benefit of the people sitting in the audience, the blue bar is what last year's budget was
correct.
for expenses, and the green bar is what our actual expenses were. And simply because of COVID and not knowing the impact of COVID, every department head really worked hard to keep their expenses as low as possible, because we had no idea what income would be.
Thank you for pointing that out. And by the way, throughout these charts, there's only 6 pages to this. It's not really lengthy, but I tried to be consistent throughout this. The green bar is actual money. Okay, that's the actuals, what we've actually spent. So the overage at the fire department was intentional. And you can see a trend there that we are under budget in all the other departments. Can you go to the next slide, please? The next one is revenue. And there's an anomaly in this one as well. If you look at roads, we budgeted $214,000 revenue for the road department. Our actual revenue, what we've actually received was 21,000. And that's not, it's not a mistake, it's not a problem per se. That's because of our partnership with the city. We anticipated $200,000 or so from the city coming to High City as revenue. And the city was prepared, to provide us with that money, but we collectively made a decision to hold that money until 2022. When we're going to be receiving state turnback funds to do a major road project here in Holiday Island. And that money is going to be used as the matching funds for that grant. So that's a decision we made. I think it's the right decision, and thank you to the city for their planning and application and their ability to get those funds to do this road project that we need. Go ahead to the next slide.
Oh, just a second on that one. I think what we really need to note on that also, when we're looking at, we were anticipated income and actual income, golf operations brought in more than we anticipated.
And we're over.
And the marina brought in more than it was anticipated in those areas. And the sewer department basically met its target.
Yes.
I have a question, Danny, on water and sewer. Water is 24,000 lower than budgeted, actual spent, and sewer is 110,000. Why would those be, especially 110? Why would it be that large, not expended sewer department?
Well, on the water side of things, remember, this is November, so there's 1 month left. There's 1 month remaining of additional revenue. So
Okay.
water will probably break even. It will probably exceed what we projected.
Okay,
Not by a lot, but it's probably going to exceed the projected revenue.
okay, then one other is admin, administration. You budgeted 400,000, but you spent, actual is 420, no, 490 and 422.
He's looking at the
Was that due to
expenditure
change
page.
in district
We're
manager?
on.
He's
I think
looking
you're
at
on a different page.
expenditures.
We're on the revenue page,
Okay, oh, I'm sorry.
which is the page 2.
All right, okay,
And this revenue for administration, the 24,000,
okay,
is the lease for the city for the office space over here on the other end of the building. That's what that revenue represents.
so you're going to expenditures in a moment?
Would you like for me to go back to expenditures?
yeah.
Okay.
On expenditures for administration, there was 490,000 roughly, no change there on budgeted, but there's 422 spent.
Is what we
So that's
got.
about,
That's 11 months. And that's 11 months.
okay, 11. But was part of it due to the change in district managers that we weren't paying Lawrence for some and you came in later? Or what? Or would it be 1 month would make the difference?
Well, and I think that's,
Well, we're $68,000 off the mark on what we projected.
Yeah.
And when we add an additional month into the mix, we're probably going to come pretty close to what we budgeted.
I suspect that's only budgeted through November, though. I don't think that
No,
includes
the
the
budget's
last.
here.
So that's a full year budget.
That's a full year budget.
That's a full year
Oh.
budget.
All right, well, let me ask it another way. Was there a savings in terms of Mr. Blood leaving and not being paid for some months and then you came on later in the year? Was there a savings there? Is that what it's different? Or is it just because it's 1 month different?
They actually
Because it's
overlap.
1 month.
We were paying both
For a short period of
a
time.
month.
When I calculated total salaries for administration for 2021 and 2022, so that we could see the difference as we've had some personnel changes, the difference, and we're talking about, roughly $500,000. The difference in 2021 and 2022 was $2,600. So it's pretty steady.
Okay, I like this way of doing bar graphs or pie graphs or whatever. When will we see the total year of 21 versus 20? In other words,
I would say we're working this week to close out December. And then we'll be working with the auditors to close out all of 2021. So 3 weeks, 30 days, something like that. We'll start to see how we ended the year in 21.
The reason I'm asking these questions, Madam Chair, is we had the comments today about some of the amenities fees and why we're asking for those. And we're looking at some repairs to different facilities like the pool deck and so forth. So I really need to know before approving some of these things that are coming up. Do we really need the money, number one? And can we afford to have some of the raises a little less to make sure that we cover our expenses? Does that make sense?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Go to the next slide. This is what we call, it's in an account called non-departmental. There's also some debt service in here. As you know, we have some debt service for the water treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant. And that money comes on the water bill, and it's kind of a pass through, and then we pay the debt service. But what I've done here is strip that out. So this is just the assessment of benefits. And this is year to date. So assessment of benefits were due earlier in the year. But even so, some people don't pay on time. And there's an added fee on top of that, and then that money trickles in. And at the end of November, this is where we were at. So we were about $300,000 over what we projected in 21 for AOBs.
Of course, I think the key thing to remember on this slide is that HICID has an almost $5 million budget. So only half of it comes from assessment of benefits. The rest of it comes from fees and they're collected.
Correct. Next slide is total revenue year to date. We're in pretty good shape there. As you can see, we're at 4.3 million. And once again, the green, that's actual money. That's what we've actually brought in. The blue represents what we budgeted for the full year 2021. And then the next slide is total expenditures. And we were under. And if you'll recall, a portion of this is the road money that we talked about, that we anticipated spending in the road department. Yes, sir, Al?
Yeah, Dan, can you go back one slide?
Sure.
And the green is what you've taken in so far this year.
Correct.
The blue is what you budgeted through the whole year.
Yes.
What?
I don't know about that.
Can't you make those comparable to be comparing apples to apples?
Yes.
Now, these slides, a lot of you said that's what we did for the whole, that's what we have planned for the whole year, the blue, and the green is what we got to so far.
I could do that. I mean, I
I
can
think in
show
the
it either
future,
way.
that would be,
It says year to date.
It
on the
says
both
year
of
to
them.
date on the bottom of the chart.
Okay,
Under the blue.
okay. I do believe this is, I could check that, but I do believe this is what we budgeted for the year. Because revenue, when we do the budget, we don't necessarily break out revenue monthly. We budget total lump sum revenue for the total year. And then this number, you know, like if I ran January, it's down here, and we see this number creep up, you know, as the year progresses, if that makes sense. But we don't really budget on a monthly basis for revenue. Although it obviously comes in.
I agree with Al's comment, and I guess that's why my comments earlier were, we're looking at 11 months of income, but we're looking at 12 months budgeted. Right? So
Right.
we are, it's apples and oranges because we're 12 and 11. We're
Well,
not
but your
looking at-
revenue,
your revenue is gonna vary, especially because you have your assessment in the fall. But if
exactly,
you took the previous years.
that's my point. Revenue, it does not come in at a steady pace through the year. It ebbs and flows during the peak of golf season, when people are out playing golf in May and June and the weather's nice. You'll have a strong uptick in revenue at the golf course. And then as the weather starts to get cold, you'll see a downturn in revenue. And so it's kind of, you know, it's kind of hard to look at it from that perspective. I like to see big picture where we're at. If we budgeted 4.1, almost 4.2 million, you know, how are we doing there? I can show this any way that you like, but this is what makes sense to me, and I was hoping it would make sense to you.
But this has been my point of contention since day one, is number one, we're measuring every monthly activity against the full year's budget. Now, if you prepare a budget, you've got to look at what the history of by month. You got to know what it's going to be per month to come up with 12 times 12 to get there.
Yeah.
You got to add them all up together. Why can we not see a comparison between month budget and month actual? That's what we need to see, because other words, in January, we're looking at, okay, we'll compare revenues of maybe, say, $1 million compared to $4 million. It doesn't make sense, because you're measuring $4 million for the whole year. In January, you got 1/12 of that down there or less, because the assessments come in later in the year. It needs to be on a monthly basis so that we can see what we budgeted for the month and see what the actual for the month is.
I'm happy to, I'm pretty good with Excel and these charts. I'm happy to depict this any way that you would like.
Well, I'd like to see a line item financial report where variances can be explained. If the road department goes over $1,000 in 1 month or $2,000 in 1 month, the reason being is we bought winter supplies.
Well, it's like, for example, the fire department. If I show it monthly, I could go back 3 months and show you when we've replaced a bunch of tires. And when you put tires on a fire truck, it's different than your pickup. I mean, it's, you know, set of tires can be $6,000 to $8,000 on a fire truck. And then you're gonna see this spike in expenditures.
Well, that's easy to explain.
Mm-hmm.
You explain it that way.
Well, but okay. As a district manager, I'm looking to see how are we doing big picture overall. I know that we spent $100,000 to buy a walkway for the marina. That's a huge spike for that month that we paid, that we wrote that check. But we knew we were gonna write that check, and we budgeted for that. So for the year, we're spot on. But I can run some different graphs for you, Mr. Stantz. I'm happy to do that.
I would like to see line item. I'd like to see year to date, and I'd like to see month, and I'd like to see variances explained. And it's easy to explain. Whenever you buy tires, you know that you're going to buy tires. If it doesn't happen in January, but happens in February, it's easy to explain. That's all you have to do is just say, okay, that was budgeted for January, but we didn't get it accomplished in January because of blah, 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 the weather or whatever. It was accomplished in February. Just variances explained.
Larry, I think you're asking our department heads to do a tremendous amount of work. They look at how much do I need to do for the whole year. They don't look at how much it's going to take me to run it in February. And is my understanding. Would I be correct in
Well,
that?
that's in my experience as a police chief and as city manager, for example, as police chief, I was given it was about $250,000 for equipment and supplies for 1 year. Now, when COVID hit, I bought a bunch of masks, I bought a bunch of gloves, I bought some other personal safety equipment. And then let's say I bought ballistic vests and I bought ammunition during that month. And so that was a steep month, a lot of expenditures. The next month, I might not buy very much, but I kept my eye on the ball of $250,000 for the year. And my boss, who was the city manager, says, I don't care when you buy it, just make sure at the end of the year, you don't exceed $250,000 because that's what you've been appropriated by the city council. And so my job was to hit that mark. It ebbs and flows each month, up and down, depending on what we need to buy.
And that's
So
been
it's
my.
the same way I would think as a school
Yeah,
administrator.
that was the way that we looked at it. We had a certain amount in each one of the line items. But whether we spent it in September or October, you know, didn't matter. We just made sure that we didn't go over the whole budget. So
Okay.
looking,
And I'm happy for the board, whatever charts you would like to see. It'll take some time, but I can do it and let you see. some
I think
different
what
numbers.
Commissioner Stamps is asking for would be very, very easy to accomplish if you were running some sort of an organization or a institution that had fixed monthly expenses.
Right. It's flat
And you
expenditure.
can budget for each month, but you know, for instance, Larry, say we ordered or budgeted to buy a major piece of equipment. We have no idea when that piece of equipment's going to arrive. It
That's a
could be
fixed
this
asset.
month or it could be in 6
Yeah.
months.
I'm talking about operations
So,
and
so
incentive.
what?
I did it for 15 years.
I know you did, and I respect that. But what I'm asking is, so would the way to accomplish what you're asking, would we take the 4.3 million or whatever, or 4.3 million that we approved in our budget, divide it up into 12 buckets? Because we have no idea when it's gonna,
No, if history tells you when it's gonna happen. You can look at January of 2017 through 22 or whatever you want to, and you can tell by those years what is gonna happen and when it's gonna happen through the regular operations. Fixed assets are a different story. That is a capital expenditure, and that can vary. But they know, all right, in October, I'm gonna plan for snow in January. But I go ahead and buy my material or whatever it is in October. They know that. Just do it on a monthly basis so that we know where we are. I don't want to come up at the end of the year and say, oh, well, looky there, we haven't spent, we got another $50,000 in the budget, let's go buy something.
well,
That's not the way it works.
I think we
This is
depend,
not a military carryover.
no, we don't do carryover. And I think we depend on our district manager as the chief executive and operating officer to work with the department heads on all of those monthly items, whereas our role is to look at the whole big picture of the year.
No, my
to
role
date.
is to look at what goes on every day. And another thing, we're all members of this board. You don't consult with one without consulting with all of us. I'm sorry.
Mr. Stamps, I prepared these charts primarily for you to help
I
give a
understand.
better picture of our budget and how we're tracking and making sure that we're not going over. And this is the types of charts that I've done for almost 20 years in city management and as a police chief. And
Danny, could we go back to
Yes, sir.
the expenditure slide, please, Carl?
sure,
And what I'm looking at, expenditures,
by department,
the marina, the marina, okay? Can you see that one?
yes, sir.
Tell me if I'm looking at this right. They budgeted for 11 months, 136,000. I'm gonna leave off the dollars, okay? 136 grand. And they spent 167. But you said they put 100,000 into the walkway. Where does that there's only about,
So the walkway cost us
there's
about,
about 31,000 over. Where did the other 70,000 for the walkway come in? Is that
The walkway is in CIP, it's a capital.
It's capital
improvement
expenditure,
project.
okay.
What we're
This is
looking at
operation.
here is salaries and M and O, maintenance and operation.
Thank you. That makes sense. I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's just in a different category.
Okay.
The reason why this is up is because we need more revenue, and we have to pay in this commission on the rates. So that expense went up because of that, so the revenue went up.
Okay, can you go to the last slide, please? 6. And one more, 2 more. There it is. This is perhaps the most important slide of all, because this really gives you a picture of our financial solvency. We have what's called a money market account. It's kind of like the mothership account. It all revenue goes into that account. And when we write a check to pay for whatever it is, salaries, tires, water pipes, whatever it is, it all comes out of the money market account, with the exception of 2 restricted accounts that are for the fire department, like your 833 account. That's state money specifically earmarked for the fire department, cannot be spent for any other purpose. And then there's other restricted funds, which are debt service funds that we pay for the wastewater treatment plant. So with the exception of those 2 restricted funds, everything else is in this money market account. Our current balance in there as of the end of November is 4.2 million. Now, we also have reserves, which is excess money, but rather than just parking it in a savings account or something, the smart thing to do normally is to invest that money so that it earns something for you. But right now it's earning about 0.5%. And that's just the economy that we're in. You know, obviously, we play the cards that are dealt us with the economy. But that money is invested. So we have about $1.54 million invested in CDs. That's right here at CS Bank. And then this number on the end here, this is our annual maintenance and operations. This is everything that we do except capital projects. And it's $3.7 million. So right now our reserves are 41.4%, and you can calculate that simply by looking at our reserves that are held in investment. This number is 41% of this number.
And can you explain to the audience that all governmental entities have reserves and why they have reserves?
Absolutely. In the 2 previous cities I worked at, in every city, the city council will set a reserve minimum and sometimes a maximum, but they always set a minimum. And it's usually around 33% to 35%. This board, way back when, 15 years ago or so, set a reserve minimum at 35%. That's to ensure the financial solvency of Holiday Island. We are currently at 41.4%, which is pretty healthy reserve. It's pretty typical of what you see in most communities. And what that means is, if revenue stopped immediately today, we could operate for 41.4% of the year because we have that money held in reserves. Our code of regulations has a minimum and a maximum here at Holiday Island, and that's between 35% and 45%. We need to fall somewhere in that range. So I have to keep my eye on this to see how we're doing. And as we set the budget, we determine salaries, we determine if we're going to give a COLA that year, or whatever the case may be. And I bring that information to the board for your review and hopefully your approval for a new budget. I've got to make sure that we're staying between this 35 and 45% gap in reserves. So this is an important slide, something that we need to be looking at each month to see where we're at. So I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any questions, and I'll continue to produce these slides for you each month, and we can go through this discussion and let you see how we're doing.
Danny, on the 41.4, if we needed that money for something, if there's not, if they're in CDs at CS Bank, we also got bids from Arvis Bank, and we took the lowest bid several months ago. If we needed that money, if it's not coming up for renewal rather, we could just cash that CD in. Let's say it's $50,000, and we could use that for, and as long as we didn't go under 35%. So what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, there is some penalty if you cash out a CD when it's not coming due.
Right. No, this one I was talking about was just ready to be renewed, but we're not going to renew it. Let's say we cashed it in and we put it in our money market account.
Is this reserve, could be used for the repairs to the rec center?
As long as it didn't go below 35%, it'd be.
Well, that 35% is for unforeseen contingencies, right?
Right.
But we didn't hardly plan the rec center having,
Well, this board set the threshold at 35%, so I suppose this board could change it. It's a board decision.
thank you.
So we could go from 41.4 to 35%. We wouldn't want to do it if we had to pay a penalty to cash in CDs. But if we had some that are coming, and I understand they are, in January, we could not renew those and take the cash out and pay for something, correct?
Right. The amount of cash between 41% and 35% is, I want to say it's somewhere around 50,000. It's not a lot of money, but and the other thing I want to mention is this 1.5 million, when it was invested, it's in 6 different CDs, and it was invested pretty strategically by someone who knew what they were doing. And they had it set up so that every 2 to 3 months, one of these CDs comes due. And so you have a consistent opportunity throughout the year, every 2 to 3 months, that you could cash in a CD with no penalty.
Okay.
And we need to maintain that, by the way, and I'll try to do that and look at, as these things come due, do we want to invest for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months? To keep those windows of opportunity coming around consistently.
The other option would be to go and borrow money, which doesn't make sense if you have money coming due in a CD that's cashable.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for providing the slides. I think that does help everyone see in picture format where we stand. In my 1 year of being on the board, I have learned 2 lessons. Cost a lot more to run this community than anyone ever realized. And our employees and department heads get blood out of a turnip. You know, they really work as hard as they can to keep the expenses as low as possible. So thank you for that. All right, let's move along to rec center damage and our options. So I will turn it over to you again, Mr. Presley.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have been working with Bill from Broadway Construction, and I will say these gentlemen have been very responsive, very attentive to my questions. When I send them an email, 30 minutes, I've got a reply. They're very attentive, and I'll just say I have not found that with any other contractor that I have corresponded with about our recreation center. So thank you for that. We're glad to have you, and I will turn it over to you. And we're anxious to hear what you have to say.
And you do know that at this point, we're exploring options. We do not know what we're doing yet.
Yes.
So we appreciate that you were willing to put together a presentation just to give us ideas. Thank you so much.
Yes. So what we did for you guys today is we put together essentially a preliminary proposal. So we got a visual drawing. We met here with Danny and we're able to go over there and look at the rec center. And we talked about just fixing the floor and fixing the rotted wood and the damage
But by the time that we get done with doing that and the labor hours, because the most expensive thing in construction is the labor. And so by the time that we get done doing all that labor, it adds up really fast. That's still an option for us to do, and we can discuss that. But what we've done is we drew up a building design. And Larry will talk about that some more. We drew up this building design to give you what we thought would be the best possible building for what you were doing with that facility. In these books are a few of the examples of some of the materials that we'll talk about. And also there's just a little history here on Broadway contractors. We've been in business for over 25 years in the commercial market is where we really started our roots. More recently, we've done a lot of business in the industrial market. We still have a commercial side. We work for Tyson, George's, Pilgrims. We've done full plan expansions over $25 million. So we have the experience.
You need one.
Yeah, I got one. My name's Larry Marley. I've been working on this almost ever since we came to make the visit. Not every day and not every minute, but I mean, it's been on my desk ever since we've been here. What you have before you is our proposal. You can turn to our scope of work that I've laid out. The condition of the building is still good looking, but the footing and the floor is gone. And it's almost impossible. It's not impossible, but it's almost impossible to repair sleepers, floor joists, and still maintain the structurability of the building. It's almost impossible. But it can be done, but it's very expensive. But so our proposal, this is not set in concrete. This is just a suggestion. So don't say, well, they said we had to tear it down. If you're building, you do what you want. We'd be glad to help you any way we can. But our proposal would be to demo the complete building, all except the fireplace. We want to keep the fireplace for a focal point. We'd also like to keep the solid timbers that are in the center area, you know what I'm talking about. We'd like to use those to construct a front porch on the front of the building for the solid beams. So the porch is not on this picture, but it's in my head. It'd be quite a bit of dirt work preparations because we have to be careful with the concrete around the swimming pool, have to be careful with the swimming pool. And there's some landscaping there that I would like to keep. So it will be, we'll have to tear the building down, clean it up and haul it off without doing much damage to what we're going to leave behind. Then we'd go back and more or less dig the footing, pour the footings, get to the metal building, and this is what we propose. This looks nothing like your building. Your building's been added on to several times, as we understand. But we'd like to build a 60 by 20. And then this 60 here is just open area. The second page is your ceiling height, because we want to be able to put wood on the bottom side of the purlin after you'll have 3-inch insulation underneath the sheets. Then we'll put another 8 inches in between the purlin. So you'll have 11 inches of insulation. And we'd like to put wood, so we'll have 17 foot of clearance. Well, it's 18.4, I'm sorry. Anyway, the ceiling in the main area will be 17.
Okay, now on the third page, you'll find here is the dimensions, and it's just hand drawn, so I'm sorry for it just being hand drawn, but. So you'll find out that the entryways in the same place. The chimney will be, of course, in the same place. The office is now flush. It doesn't stick out toward the east like it does now. It's flush. So you'll come in, when you come in, you'll come into the wide, I'm gonna call it the entertainment area, lack of other words. So you'll have a big room that has an 18-foot ceiling, spiral air ducts. It's all open. There's glass on the west side of that room. You'll have the office and glass on the east side of that room. So you'll have an exit to the pool on the west side and exit to the pool on the east side.
I turned mine upside down. and that helped. Because you have the entrance on that side, right? I mean, this is really the.
This
This
is,
is the front.
yes, this is.
So this gets going into the right.
Thank you,
Yes,
Bill.
yes.
I turned it upside down.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
So this is looking at the big pool on this side.
Right,
Right.
right. That's the way I see it. Right. Well, I found the chimney and that helped, and the fireplace. It's okay.
And so you have your office, and you'll have a shaded area for the pool on the west side. You'll have a 60 by 60 shaded area or entertainment system area outside on the west side. Okay, we'd like to put a pass through from the 60 by 60 over to the other side. Okay, then you'll have the men and the women shower in the pass through, so when they come through the building, more or less they'll be in the dry or whatever. Then you'll have a mechanical room. You can make it a break room or a kitchen in the center, and then a storage closet or a restroom there next to the kitchen. And we got one little room down here for pool items. There's ways that this could be. We could cut the cost, we could make the 60 by 60, we could make it smaller. But this 60 by 120, which runs north and south, is almost gonna have to be there to cover up the area of the other building.
Do you by any chance know what the exterior dimensions are that on that building now?
They're a little bit less than this because I've squared this up instead of stepping in and stepping out, because it's been added on to so much. The office space is roughly 12 by 24, so that could be made into two offices or a reception area and office. I just brought it as a 12 by 24.
Sure.
So when you go in the building, you're in the building. As it is now, when you go in the foyer, the reception is there, and then you have to go into the entertainment center or going out to the pool. Well, here you'll be going into the large area, and then you'll have to walk through the large area to go into the pool on the west or the east side.
So one of the things that we noticed when we were over there looking at this on our initial meeting is that if somebody's in one pool and somebody's in the other pool, that you can't see to the other pool, and to walk to it, you gotta walk around the end of the building. So that's why we created that pass through, and that's why we've got so much of that storefront glass in there. That way it really opens that area up instead of making it feel supreme.
And if we do go with some type of new construction, we certainly want to make it more usable for the employees.
Right.
So that it functions better as a building for that particular area. And making those pools visible to the people that are working there is, I think important. Plus, if we decide to go within a whole new building, one of the things that we've wanted to do was add shade area, and this would accomplish that also.
I figured, basically, I figured from the fireplace over to the corner in glass. Then, so the west side of the big room will be glass. And then everything except the office on the inset, which is right here, from that corner to this corner, will be glass. Myself, the more, if it's a facility and most of the activity is outside, you've got to have the glass to be able to see what's going on. If you're having a birthday party and the adults are in the building, they want to know what the children are doing, but they may not be able to be outside with them. We have four showers in both men and women's. We have 4 toilets in the women's and 4 sinks. And in the men's, we have 2.
That's why we're gonna do all concrete building. Now, there's a few ways for us to make that look a little nicer. The stone wainscot that you can see the examples of, the stone wrap columns, and we can fancy that up. So my point with saying that is we're building a building that's gonna last a really long time, but we're also building a building that we can shave and we can shave a few things off and make it cheaper. Right now, with the full demo and the full reconstruction turnkey, we're looking at probably around $700,000. So we don't have a full budget on that yet. This is a preliminary proposal, but what we would consider our budget number is 700 to 750
Could
for
you,
that size of a building.
could you give us an idea, just the demolition alone, what portion of that proposal is demolition and falling away?
Probably about $65,000 of that
Okay.
will be the demo, and that's getting it all out. And that's dependent too on where we can take that material. So depending on how far we've got to truck that will also come into play.
Sure.
That's all the way down to the dirt. Footings, rebar, everything's out.
So, and we know that if this construction does go, we may be working during that time. So one thing that we're talking about is ideally, I think we can leave the main pool, the larger pool, completely open. We shouldn't interfere with it at all. But there may be some period where we need to close the smaller pool if we were to work on it during pool season this summer.
We're real OSHA conscious as far as safety goes, and we realize that there'll be some security fencing. First one thing and another. Also, one thing that I would propose is to put a camera on site, not for that, but several years ago, I was working for a company and they had a section fenced off and the parents lifted the children over the fence so they could play on the playground equipment. And one of the children pushed bench that was leaning up against the wall off on the little child's head, and it stayed in the hospital for a rather long time. So you can put barriers up, but sometimes parents still jump the fence.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just for safety's sake, the camera would be for your protection and our protection, just so everybody could see that we did every part we were supposed to.
And if we were to do this, what would you think the time frame would be, start to finish?
I'd like to
say
know what the
somewhere-
tear down part would, start with how long the tear down would take.
Well, I figure the tear out would probably take at least a month, because there's portions of it that maybe someone with the city could benefit. The metal roof could be took off and stored and stacked. That alone, it's different than just going in and start ripping things out. So when you hand pick stuff out, the toilets and the sinks I saw were still in fairly good shape. If you wanted to reuse them, you could have somebody pull those out, store them in the city facility, and reuse them if that's what you want to do. I myself, means we're gonna have all brand new. I like to have all brand new, but you could use the fixtures in a different part of the city, maybe in the maintenance shop, and something like that. You know what I'm saying? The hot water heater could be used somewhere else. But, there's a lot of things that you could personally save there, but I'd still say it'd probably take a month.
And then how long to erect the new structure?
Between 6 and 8 months. So,
Does that price include all the HVAC?
yeah. Your HVAC budget was
42,000.
42,000. That's 3 units. 1 unit running the 2 showers, 1 unit running the big area, and 1 mini split for the office. And I just got those figures last week from the heat.
So,
Not saying that when we get the plans drawn that it might not vary a little bit, but this is just what he had for me.
we have a gentleman in the room today that's done a lot of structural engineering and plans. Would these plans be translated into structural engineers' drawings and stamp and everything?
Yes, this is just your metal building plan.
Okay.
It will have a stamp on it. But we are gonna need, or you're gonna need a set of plans. It doesn't necessarily have to be laid out like my building, but you're gonna have to have a set of plans before you can get a solid bid from anybody.
Yeah.
This is just us trying to help you prepare on if you think it's feasible or not.
Okay, great. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
And our suggestion.
Yeah.
Our suggestions is that 20 years from now, if you wanted to gut this thing out and start all over from scratch and lay it out into a restaurant or whatever, you could do it, because the building is going to be structural. The only thing is you can move the walls anywhere you want to at any given time.
I have another question on the floors. What type of floor right now is part of cement pad where the showers are and so forth? And the other part is where all the problems are. What would your new building look like, flooring all the way around?
We would stamp the concrete 100% on every part that we poured, so there wouldn't be any slick factor in it.
Okay.
We got some examples of that.
Where it'd be in the bathrooms, in the big area, outside.
This whole thing is constructed on a slab,
Yes.
Yeah, but it would all be
so that would be your floor.
right.
Yeah.
I've seen high schools done that way. It's most attractive.
And that's one reason you'll need a set of plans, the architect. He'll get a structural engineer to whoever you use. And one of our hopes and desires when we came to the meeting, and especially if we do get the job, which we would really like to get it, is to use local contractors, if they are some here in town, no matter what field they are, we'd like to get a price from them. Be able to help them come along, which would also just be benefiting the community. And we were hoping that you had an architect in the facility, but we didn't know for sure, but he'll get with the structural engineer, they'll construct the footings and the floor to the desire that they want, and then our building can sit on top of it. We'll just build by their plan.
You've got a lot of good detail in here. I didn't go to the next page.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Other questions? Al?
On this, kind of hard to tell something. I just thought this building faced east, and this is north and this is south, but anyways.
Yeah, this is. That's what.
I live across the street in Sunbury.
Oh, okay. I'm turning. Anyway, that's the front.
Right, this is the front of the exit. That way. Okay, this shaded area here, does that come all the way to the pool, or is it part of the over the
It's
pool?
60 foot. I didn't really, it doesn't come all the way to the pool.
It doesn't cover the pool.
No.
It stops before.
Right, and if I'm not mistaken, it stops before it ever gets to the fence.
I believe that's what we measured.
So it's more like
existing.
a dining area, a shaded dining area on the pool side, on the big pool side.
Right.
So we just call that this shaded area over there.
Right, but see, this is, right now, there's no shaded area there now. There's a little bit of sidewalk cover, but this here is pushed back this way, not all the way as deep as the office is now.
That's a room right here now that's allowed to use this for checking. Even though it's a big room. Checking. This is, we come in here.
With this,
and
now
checking
you,
the pool.
oh, well, that can be put right here in this area if you want to put
Okay, Al, we're not gonna build this today, I promise you.
No, but it might be advantageous if they have some idea what they're planning for.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
I mean,
You just, whatever you desire, that's just our proposal.
Well, and I have to say to y'all that we really appreciate you bringing us something to look at, because honestly, I think we're all a little lost about where to go right now. And then this gives us at least an idea of how to go ahead and do this. If I was in your shoes, I'm not sure that I would have spent all the time and energy that you did without, knowing for sure that there was going to be a bid out there. We really do appreciate it so much.
We have brought y'all a little gift,
We have bribery.
Hey.
not bribery. I can't say that.
Promotions. Promotions.
You're under $25.
There you go.
Barb, did you have a question
Yeah,
or comment?
I'm conversing with somebody in the Zoom audience, Linda Graves, and she is questioning the use of metal building versus buildings that would fit in with other community assets in Holiday Island.
And I think that's gonna be one of the things that we're gonna really work toward, is making this building, everything that was here was built originally with a mid-century modern look to it. And so anything that we can do to keep that same general look, I think is what we try to do. It's.
Thank you, sir.
Well, one thing you'll find out about a metal building, they're diverse. It may be metal on the inside, but you can make them look like wood, you can make them whatever. That's why we put the stone and wood picture in there where the columns are wrapped in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our point was is that it doesn't have to
Pictures
look-
really look, help.
It doesn't have to look like a warehouse or a
Yes.
storage center.
Yeah, and we don't want it to look like that,
Right.
so, yeah.
But you'll find out that the more you mix stone, wood, and steel together, you'll find out you'll get a lot more attractive building. Plus with the glass that I'm planning on putting in it, it will build it.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you for the coffee cup.
Yes, thank you.
And the pen. Did we run
And the
out?
pen.
Or you can tell Linda there's a lot of different options in this book. It's supposed to be here. Okay.
Oh, look, looks like he's auctioning them here. Again, thank you for your presentation.
Yes,
We
thank
really-
you so
and the time and energy that you spent to put this together. Really appreciate it. Plus making the drive up here.
Yeah.
Although it had been a pretty day to drive up
It
here.
was, it was a very nice day.
Hey, Bill, and y'all-
Safe travels.
just a second to come down this one. She's got an extra percent.
For silence, please.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you guys.
Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Silence, friends, says right on people.
I think I saw it somewhere.
Really good.
All right, commissioners, I think we need to give the district manager some direction in where we are going to go from here. So we did get the structural engineer's report. He was paid by the insurance company. However, at that point in time, the insurance company had said that, it wasn't going to be anything that was part of the claim. So I'm assuming as a professional engineer, he would put his signature or stamp on it unless it was accurate. We've all had an opportunity to read that report. Give me your thoughts at this point in time.
Let me kick it off.
Please do.
Reading the engineer's report, which took forever to get. And I understand again, COVID and
Or issues.
but although he didn't identify specifically what it would take to fix the building, the picture he painted for me was not as doom and gloom as I had thought it would be. Given that fact, I guess my personal opinion is that we need to, number one, we're not in any hurry. We've got all the time in the world to make a decision. The rec facility can operate into the foreseeable future out of the island room. May not be ideal, but it can be done. And I would personally like to see us hire a structural engineer who will give us a deep dive look at what is wrong with the building and specifically a scope of what would need to be done to repair it and an estimated cost to repair. Then I think we would be better equipped to make a decision of fix or replace. My opinion.
I agree 100%.
I do too. Great idea.
Would you like to put that in the form of a motion? Would you like for me to repeat it since I wrote it a little bit?
Sure.
The discussion is to instruct the district manager to hire a structural engineer and determine the scope of work for repair and the value of repair versus replacement. Is that correct?
I'll second that.
That would cover it.
Okay.
Yep, and I would move
You would move
to
to
that
that.
regard.
Chair, I'm still gonna keep you as chair, aren't I? Commissioner Dyer is, made a motion to hire a structural engineer to determine the scope of work for repair versus replacement. And Commissioner Brown has seconded that. All in favor?
I have some discussion.
All right, discussion?
I think it's a great idea to look at all aspects of it. I like what they've done today and they worked pretty hard on it, but I was a little bit eye opener of $700,000. That's a lot of money. And what Danny had explained about the CDs and the available money and what we have available in the 2022 budget for this project, nowhere near 700 grand. So, you know, when you're building a big building like this, and when we built the water treatment plant, $7 million, we had to go on a 20 or 25-year loan for bond. But so we're not at $6 or $7 million, but it's a lot of money. So Commissioner Dyer, I think that was a good idea. I think we all agree with it. And I think, you know, it's been 4 months since it was shut down. So Bob, we do have a lot of time that we can look at it, but to get the most out of it, I'd like it sooner rather than later, not like 2023 to get into it again. But so that's what I have to say. I was a little
Keep in mind,
surprised.
Ken, cost of construction has escalated.
I know.
You know,
I hear you.
1,500 square foot,
Yeah.
3-bedroom homes you're selling here for $350,000.
Right.
And
And
the
then-
real tough decision today
Yeah.
is suppose that structural engineer comes back and says, well, it's gonna cost $250,000, just to repair it.
Yeah.
So then are you gonna put that money in a 50-year-old building that is not functioning? Or do you go ahead, bite the bullet, even if you have to do a short-term loan to pay it out, to do it and do it right and know that it's gonna be right for the next 50 years? That's when it's gonna get really tough. But we do have a motion on the table, so maybe you should call the roll in terms of hiring a structural engineer.
Commissioner Childers,
Aye.
sorry, Commissioner Dyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Stamps,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Surratt votes yes.
So we have a 5-0 to ask that you hire a structural engineer. I don't know where you find one of those, but go look it.
I think
I'll find
he's got a lead.
He's got a lead.
I had started on that last week and I already have a lead.
Good,
So
good. Because we really do need to know, is it worth to repair or should we rebuild? That's what the
And when we get all this information, I'd like to hold a community workshop or form a committee of members of the community to give us input as to how we should weigh our decision.
Good point. Very good point.
We'll talk about that another day.
Absolutely. But I really do appreciate these people bringing us some visual
excellent.
ideas to think about.
Now we've got a ballpark, you
Yeah.
know.
Yes. Yeah, I was thinking 500,000. I wasn't quite ready for 7. Barb?
Okay, I got a comment again from Linda Graves. If it's legal, we should investigate if this is legal, that the city could go for a grant and then use HICID money as a matching amount for the grant, so that the full cost would not be on the homeowners and residents.
We'll just have to look at all of our possibilities.
Yeah, we can look at those options, but speaking from past attempts to try to have the city and the district work together on the same project. There are legal problems with mixing public and private money. And so we'd have to be really careful about how we approach that.
Maybe the grant could be put in the name of HICID rather than the city.
That's possible.
If you could find where we could, you know, possibly make application for it.
Good.
All right. All right, let's move forward to new business. At our work session last week, we talked about the amenity fees. And I asked the district manager to divide this into two options, the amenity fees for the golf versus the amenity fees for the recreation center. I thought we might be able to move through the golf fees quickly because I did not note that there was a lot of discussion about that last week. However, I'll open the floor for discussion on the amenities fees for the golf, the 9-hole, 18-hole driving range, punch cards and carts, which is of course the major part of the amenity fees. Should we?
Madam Chair, we had a pretty long discussion last week, Monday, in a workshop setting with Lauren here, and we had the greenskeeper here, and everybody was here. And I think the consensus was, or at least my view of it, is that the golf fees for carts and so forth, carts, green fees, rental cars, and that type of thing. I think they were all within line of where they need to be. And I think we've satisfied some of the people that think we spend too much on golf by we've raised fees over the years. And there comes a point, I think I mentioned Mrs. Clay, who worked here, so that every time we raise the fees on a yearly membership of golf, we lose about 5% of the golfers. That was her view. But whether that's as accurate now or not, I don't know. But we have to pay the way. I mean, we can't just, you know, somebody mentioned earlier about the $800 assessment. If you were to not raise anything for golf fees, then you would have to raise the assessment more to pay for golf operations. So I think I would be, when I hear from my other commissioners, ready to say, let's go with the proposal that we had last week for all of those golf fees, golf related, golf cart, so forth fees.
Are you making that as a motion?
I would like to move that. We do that, approve the golf fees that are printed for 2022.
Second, we have a motion by Commissioner Brown, a second by Commissioner Surratt. Do we have any discussion?
Danny, refresh us on, was it 10% across the board increase in those fees?
More or less.
Generally, yes, but there are some variances.
Okay,
through there.
but not big variances, were they?
Correct, not big variances.
Not on golf. I mean, they may have rolled it up to the next.
I know I've got them here, and I asked that question for the benefit of anybody that might be listening, you know, but.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to accept the golf amenity fees as presented. They're more or less a 10% increase. We have a second by Commissioner Surratt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, got the easy one done, didn't we? Let's move ahead to the pool fees. And I do want to say how much we appreciate the feedback from the community in regards to the pool fees. I got 4 or 5 emails myself that I attempted to respond to. There was some talk on social media that the pool pays for itself, so why should we have to do anything in terms of raising any fees? And that made me go back and look at the financials and realize that through November, the rec center brought in $68,000 in income. 18,000 of that was for green fees. So really the pool only brought in $50,000. But it cost $150,000 to operate the facility. By the time you look at wages, utilities, that doesn't count the liability insurance that must be done. It doesn't include any of the upkeep for the golf course. It doesn't include the $25,000 that we just spent on the new winterized cover that has to go on the pool to keep it where you don't have to replaster it, because that's even more expensive. So there's no way that the pool is in the black. And so really what we have to do as commissioners is try to figure out what is the amount of income that the residents can handle to try to maximize the income that we have and yet minimize the impact. So as I sat and thought all week, and as I sat and talked with Danny about it on Wednesday, one of the things that we would like to do, we see usage of the pool increase from the short-term rentals. Is that correct? Would you say that we get people from the VRBO type community?
Yes.
That we get
We
quite
get quite a few.
quite a bit of that. And those are people who are in general not resident, they're property owners, but they're not residents. And they're using their house to produce income. So as Danny and I talked about it, I thought, well, why don't we make it, they're the ones that are making money off their house. Let's give some of the expense to them. And so my proposal for consideration of the board, and I asked Danny to send this to all of you, was that we create a rental pass that would have to be purchased by those short-term, the homeowners, the property owners, the non-residents would have to purchase a $300 rental pass to allow those guests that are using that facility to go use the pool at a non-resident rate. So that would mean we would be bringing in, and somebody's thrown out numbers about how many short-term rentals there are in the community, and I never can remember what it is. 62 or something. So if those short-term rental people wanted to say, advertise to their guests that they would be able to use the Holiday Island pool, they're gonna have to pay $300 up front to do that. Now, these are people that are using their home for income production. So as far as I'm concerned, that seems to be a cost of business to me. It would allow us to bring in at $300, 60 businesses, is that $18,000?
18 cents.
Okay, that would allow us to bring in another almost $19,000 if everybody decided to buy one. And then their residents could bring the pass to the rec center staff, and that by showing that they have that pass, they could then get a daily pass to use the pool. Now, the question was, how much should the daily pass be? In the past, I believe it was $5 last year, is that right?
That was residents,
$5.
property owners.
How much was the non-resident last year? Seven, okay. The question was, should we raise that $7 to $10? Now, I don't know. You guys tell me, if you have 3 little kids, and you're a short-term rental, are you gonna pay $30 for them to use the pool? I don't know.
Well, at $7 a head for people that came in for guests, if the children were 6 and under, got in free. Okay, they didn't pay for babies, they didn't pay for all of that. Anybody over 6 or 6 and under was free. If you raise it to the 10, I would suggest then you raise that to 7 and under is free. That will give a majority of their kids able to get in for free for their $10 fee.
And then with that idea of creating the rental pass to be purchased by the property owner, we would make the annual family pass from 176, which I believe it was last year, to 200.
The family pass last year, you have to understand, it was $164.49. The tax took it to $176.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay? And the individual pass was $90.65 to take it to 97.
Yeah.
They always wanted to make it round up.
Right.
So this year, this is what I think you had these numbers from me as well. I suggested 95 for the individual plus tax, which would take it to the 107 because that's tax on that. And then, 95 would take it to 101.65. If you raised it from 90 to 95 for an individual, that's only a $5 raise, then it takes it to 101.65. The family household pass, then, if you look at last year was $164.49. My
my projection, my suggestion was 185, and then with tax, it goes to 197.95. So what you suggested, 200 for a family pass, it's just a few cents different, and the other one is, $100 for the individual.
Well, look, looking at the history of the family pass, it's only gone up $25 in the last 5 years.
That's correct.
And we certainly know, that chemicals alone have gone up more than that,
they have. But I wanted to get something straight, which, there was a little convolution of, what was discussed, everybody's saying, oh my gosh, $300 for my grandkids. No, it wouldn't be that. The household pass would include the property owner, whoever lives in that house, under their roof as a dependent. Now, if your grandchildren do live there, then you're going to pay the family pass as it is.
Sure.
What we have found, what people do under that pass is that I have a book here, and I have people that have listed 17 to 19 people in their family that at any one time could come to that pool under their one pass.
Yeah.
If you have a family that lives in this area, Berryville, Eureka Springs, yeah, you're gonna want to have, pay that extra $100 for them to come because they might come all the time. But if you have family that live in Timbuktu and they may not show up, they can come and pay the daily family pass, which if you keep it at $5, it'd be $5 a person. It all depends. We're not mandatory, that you have to pay $300 if your grandkids are going to come for a week. No, you don't have to.
Yeah.
It's your choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice that you have.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there's a lot of people that they list to come in on a family pass. And
I find that interesting because I did sit down yesterday and go through and looked at Harrison, Berryville, Rogers, Bentonville, Bella Vista, Springdale, and Fayetteville. And most of them said a maximum of 5 people on a family pass.
that's correct.
And so we know that is being abused. And at some point in time, we've got to grapple with that issue. There were quite a few of them that, if you weren't, in fact, I was amazed at Berryville, I guess you take your income tax statement because you have to prove that those are people that you are claiming on your income tax.
Okay.
Yes, I'm serious. That's what it said. So that just goes to show that the abuse is significant.
Right.
And nobody wants to make it difficult to take your grandchildren to swim or exorbitant to take them to swim.
Madam Chairman,
Yes,
may I
sure, please.
throw something into the
Please,
mix here?
absolutely.
I just want to point out that, this is one of those cases that we want to make everyone happy. So I've had,
Do that.
Good luck.
I've had ideas.
You haven't been in this
from,
business long enough then.
From Dr. Brown, I've had ideas from Vice Chairman Dyer and from you and from Phyllis and from you name it. So as that has happened, there have been several iterations of this chart. The last iteration is what's depicted here. This may differ from what you have in front of you. So just real quickly, what I've done away with here is the distinction between a family pass and a household pass. It's just a family pass, and it does include extended family, your grandkids and all that, because grandkids have been a big topic of discussion among our residents. So on that line, it would be $200. That includes all extended family. It's a family pass all in. And then you have here the rental property pool pass, $300. And then you have the individual pass that's $100. And then the daily would be $5 and $7. And this is for non-property owners in this column. So if you don't live here, you're just here for a 3-day weekend at a rental, it's $7. This was $10. And reasonable people could, in other versions of this chart, this was $10. And, you know, people will disagree, should it 7 or should it be 10? You know, then I guess maybe today we could decide that $100,000 question. But that's what this is. This is the latest iteration. And really the only change here is that the prices for property owners, the only change would be going from 176 to 200. And I intended for all of these prices here for 2022 to include taxes.
Right, good.
It would be a flat $200, that's taxes and everything.
Yeah.
So that, I hope that clarifies what is up here on the screen.
Madam Chair, I really like that, what Danny just showed, really like it a lot. I don't think we should go to $10 for a daily pass. I don't know what, you know, when you looked at other cities, what they charge at their pools, but going from up to 7 would be, I think, nominal and reasonable. I also like evening it off at 200, not 198, 65 or whatever. We can work that in with the tax, but just a red check for 200 is a lot better than these different amounts. We've had 3 people speak to the issue today. I've had 2 calls. Some of you on the board have had other calls and discussions with friends. We're all of age to have grandchildren. And if you're lucky enough to have them come and see you and stay for a few days, and you might not want to buy the pass, but you pay the individual daily amount. So there's 3 grandchildren and you, that's $28, 4 times 7, good deal. Beautiful pool, nice facility. If you don't want to, if you want to pay 200, then they come in and they do it at free. Yours is 1 and 3 kids, grandkids. So I think it helps the grandparents who we have more, probably, I don't know, I'm just going to take a guess, 70% probably of our residents are old enough or our grandparents. Okay, so I would like to, I know the, when we look at the one that I'm aware of, Suzanne, is Berryville, the rec center there. And the Eureka Springs Center does not have a pool, but I think it's in that range. I haven't been over there for quite a while.
The Berryville family rate is $120.
Is it? Okay.
For instance, if you want to go to Bentonville, the family rate's $485.
Wow. Okay.
Now, granted, they have a lot more.
Have a water park.
Yeah, like a water park,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
granted. So it does range, but ours is not unreasonable, I don't think.
So for clarification of my simple mind, the $200 for the family pass, that includes extended family?
That's what
It does.
it says there.
Correct.
At this point in time, yes.
So
Correct.
if,
So that the definition doesn't change. The
okay,
definition
so
of
it's the same as it was,
Yes,
it just, we're,
raising it up from one.
yeah. And
176.
the fact that we didn't increase the last couple of years,
Yeah, we haven't increased for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years.
yeah, so
And
that doesn't seem excessive. My big rub, here's my rub,
So,
is with the short-term rental people.
yes. Is $300 not enough?
I respect, no, it's not, it's chicken change.
I know it.
You know, I respect them and encourage them to be successful. But I don't think the property owners, the residents of Holiday Island should be in the business of subsidizing them.
You're right.
And if we, either we go back to the way it used to be where they weren't allowed to use it, or if they are going to be allowed to use it, let's make that
Okay.
buy-in from them be a little stronger. And maybe, originally I said $1,000 a year, but I think that might be excessive, maybe $600 a year. That'd be $100 a month to have the facility available to their people. Doesn't seem excessive to me, but, and then likewise, let's make the people who come, who are staying in those short-term rentals, pay a little more than a Holiday Island resident would, you know, or a guest of a resident. And maybe bump theirs up to, if the $10 mark is scary, make it $9.
What you proposed was $300 for the permit for them to have their guests come down and pay the daily fee.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. But Bob is saying instead of it being $300 to get that permit, go at $600. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I would like to put the burden on those income producing people. That's
It's,
part of
it's an
their cost.
amenity that will help them promote their product.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have a question back there.
Yes.
Well, I'm with you
Go to the
on
podium.
the vacation.
You have to speak. You have to come here so we can hear you on the mic.
Okay, sorry.
We're recording this.
Okay, on the short-term rentals, I think that you need to realize how much money they make on those short-term rentals.
Oh, yeah.
They're making a fortune.
Yep.
$600 a year is the cost of doing business. That's a tax write-off. I don't get to write off my $800 a year or my $200 a year pass. I can't write that off, but the vacation rental people, they can. And actually, I don't think $1,000, either $1,000 a year. We need some kind of way to regulate the short-term rental properties here. We need to know who is short-term rental. They need to be registered with the city.
And I think they're
And we
working on it.
need to charge them a fair amount because we're either going to encourage our city to become families that live here year-round, or we're going to stay vacation rental. Now, if we're going to grow as a city, we need families that live here year-round. And the responsibility of the people that live here year-round, when these vacation rental homes are sitting empty, is the people that live here year-round that will call the fire department when there's a problem. It's the people that live here year-round that will call the police when they notice a break-in. It's the people that live here year-round that are also exposed to other people that might be coming in here and just checking out who is here year-round. When are these properties empty? When is a good time to come in and rob someone? All that extra responsibility falls on our police department, our fire department, and the people that live here year-round. That shouldn't be our job. Vacation rentals are booming. They will continue to boom. This pandemic thing, it has brought more people than ever to short-term vacation rentals. It should not be all profit. The people that are making the profit should also bear the cost. I think we need to shift the cost to the people that are making money, because we don't want to encourage to have 15 houses and 10 of them be vacation rentals. That's not good for a city.
That's true.
Empty property brings crime. And we need to take that into consideration. And the people that are the first line of defense against break-ins, fire, water damage are the people that live here year-round that do keep an eye out for our neighbors. And we need to know who's in our neighborhood. We don't know who these people are that are coming.
Will you identify yourself for the?
I'm sorry, I'm Betty Luna, and I live at number 2, Blue Water Circle, and my area.
Your last name again?
Luna, L-U-N-A.
Thank you.
And my property is owned commercial, and we have majority, by the time they're done over there, we're gonna have more vacation rental properties than we do year-round residents. And that could be a problem in the long term. So if we put something in practice now so that we can say to vacation rental people that are investors, you know what, you're all welcome to come. But this is what it's gonna cost you to come and be a part of our community. That will discourage investors from buying 5, 6, 7 homes that they're gonna leave empty for a good part of the year. And we don't really want, that's like commercial farming. We really don't want, we don't want one investor to have 10 homes here and the rest of us looking out for them. Not unless they're gonna pay for it.
I have a
Thank you.
question for
Yeah.
Janice. And I know you had something to say. How do you manage it now when vacation rental people come into the rec center to swim? Can you kind of give us an overview of what your procedure is?
Yes,
And where you gather your information, and fill us all in.
okay. This book here that I have is full of the people that have rental properties. They had to contact me. We set this up last year where they had to contact me. I took their name, their address, and their address of where they lived or the house that they rented along with their phone number, just in case something went wrong. They had to file that with me. I made a copy and they took it with them and left it in their rental house. Now, that's for a few people who did not use management companies, but there are 2 or 3 management companies who are managing these houses for them. So they turned around and they called me. Now, the management companies are more, not just somebody that's out there doing it themselves, but they scanned the little card that I gave them, so it was in their phone. And this is, you'll find that with all these people that come in, they don't even know who they rented from. They do not know the name of the person. All they give is have an address and where they're gonna pick up the key. So they scan this thing in their phone. So the reservation is all in their phone. And there was the card was in there. We did have some people come in and say, well, we didn't find a card. I had to contact one person and they said, I didn't know I could do that. Yeah, you need to do that. And then there were other ones that they didn't contact me at all. I had 68 cards given out to people to put in their houses. And I kept a copy of all those cards. So when somebody came in and said, well, we're staying here, I had a copy, and we didn't throw anybody out. Okay, we handled it that way.
So basically, your pass system already exists.
The pass system that we set up last year already exists.
So you have the information.
I have the information. Those people would have to contact me again because that pass expired at the end of the season. So they have to contact me again to get another renewed pass. And at that time is when they would be able to, pay their fee for it.
So you have all their contact information and you can send them a letter and say, we're instituting a $600 pass.
It could be done.
Some poor bad guy can do that. But theoretically, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
You have the information.
Right,
So
yeah,
we can put in a policy
Yeah.
and inform the owners of what the story is. So
Yeah.
they're not gonna
Yeah,
be surprised
and
when they walk in and say, I need to get a.
I have to look though, because the address that I put on those cards was the address that was here.
Okay.
So if they are living someplace else,
Well,
that
we probably
might
have
be on
resident
file here
addresses.
that,
Yeah.
that I get the addresses from
Yeah,
here,
but-
but their mailing address.
Yeah, our
Right.
information should show
Right, I could get a list of all.
their own permanent address we
Right.
should have on record through.
Sure.
Us.
Yeah, you should have it, I have all the names of the cards.
Okay.
Well, Madam Chair, while Janice is up there, is this fair to what we're proposing? I like the idea. And I'm not sure what we should charge for it, maybe 800 or 1,000, but is this the same thing as we do for the 100 and some people that own a week at the timeshares over here in the street? How do we do that?
The people at the timeshares, we have them they have their little cards when they come in.
Okay.
We can look at their little cards and we know that what week they're in. So if they come in on the week of their property owner, that 1 week that they own property, they come in and we don't charge them. We don't charge them at the time. We take the card
Okay.
and we write on it. And then we send those cards, I do up a sheet of everybody that came in.
Right.
I give it to her here, she gives it to them, we get a check a
Okay.
month later. That's for golf or for swim on their week. Now, if they come in as an off week,
Yeah.
we take their card, we mark on there that it's their off week, so they're paying, the timeshares are paying me a guest fee that week. Okay, and that's how it goes for the pool. The golf is, you come in and we take the card and we do the same thing for the card, but they pay for their cart. They know that they have to pay for the cart, that's not included in the golf.
Okay, thank you. So it's fair for both, but I'm looking at timeshares don't get a better break than the VRBO or whoever. It's all gonna be the same with the system we have set up already with the timeshare.
It sounds terribly complicated though.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It's not really that complicated, way to set up. But one of the things I wanted to reiterate too with the pool is that there have been times this past year, because everybody seemed to come out wanting to vacation and they were at the pools. There were times when we had only them in the pool. The property owners were not to be found, okay? And that's weekends, during the week, whatever. During the week, you have more property owners there because it's calmer and cool, nicer. But at the weekends is when we got crazy, and it was mostly VRBO and a lot of children. Now, you have to also consider that we are a Class B pool, which says that we do not have to have lifeguards on right now because it's a more property owner only pool. But when when you start getting those numbers higher, you may have an issue.
When you have a guest fee, a non-property owner, do you require an adult to come in with them?
Children under 12 are not allowed unless they have an adult with them, and that adult has to be 18 years old.
Good.
Right.
Okay.
So-
And
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. How many of these free riders did you have that are property owners and tell you they've got 19 names on their list? I kind of wanted to backtrack to that because I think we probably need a maximum number of guests.
Oh, well, I've got quite a few here. I mean, I also have people that I know they're not really their grandkids, but they listen anyway.
See,
So
that-
I'm not gonna get into that.
Yeah.
But there are people, I mean, some of them are normal, but there's one that had like 17 or 18 kids with their grandkids. Now, this goes to not only grandkids, it goes grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, their spouses. The only thing that you have to not include is brothers or sisters, nieces or nephews. So you can go and.
4 generations in the swimming
There you go.
pool.
I mean, that's how far it goes. So,
Okay.
that's what you're up against when you have it that way.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, and just another thing, we did not, what we're doing here for the daily passes are not changing from last year. Did you want to do that? You want to keep them the same? I mean, you want to keep $7 for a guest when it was $7 this year for a guest?
Yeah.
And $5 for a property owner, or just up the daily fee for a guest?
I've got, says $10 for this coming year.
Well, we
That was-
looked at it many different ways. So
The one up there, Larry, has been changed from the one you and
I
I
think
had.
10 is too high. 10 is too high.
Yeah, it is.
10 just seemed high for some reason.
Are we gonna make that 7?
Oh, yeah.
I had one, Janice,
Yeah.
one last question
Sure.
before we take a 5-minute bathroom break.
Yes.
Would you have a problem with extending your pool hours beyond 6 PM to 7 or God help us, 8 o'clock even maybe on Friday nights and Saturday nights?
Friday nights and, there's my note here. Leaving it, okay, here's what I propose. Okay. Sunday through Thursday, 9 AM to 6 PM. Starting when we open the pool to September 1st. We did open Fridays and Saturdays 9 to 7. And that's how it has been run for the last several years, or 2 years since the pandemic happened. If you, 8 o'clock is too, nobody is going to stay there till 8 o'clock for 1 or 2 people that are in the pool. When you have a Friday and Saturday night, 7 PM is just fine. We've put these things in place and they have stayed, and people have gone by it. People here, most of them are retired.
Well, maybe we've directed ourselves towards retired people, though. We're getting more and more people who work. And by the time they get off work, wherever they work, get back here to Holiday Island, they're pushing 6 o'clock then, and now they can't go to the pool during the week after work like they'd like to. And I just think we need to be inclusive for.
Then you need to think about opening later. If you open a pool and stay to 8 o'clock, you open at noon. Because you got a shift that's a 12-hour shift. Personally, I won't do it. And I know the people, and I'm not trying to threaten anybody here, but the people, the staff I have are a good staff, and they have really enjoyed being able to leave at 6 or 7 and still have somewhat of an evening.
So I could live with 7 o'clock all days.
It'll be up to you guys, but then I don't know what the end result will be. Okay, that's all I can tell you at this point.
Well, maybe we could stagger shifts too, because there's usually 2 people in there every time I go in the rec center.
We have staggered shifts. We have split people apart. I tried 4 hours, and that's like, no, 3 people for 4 hours, and we have staggered shifts, but then when we get busy, somebody has to sit out at that pool because you've got too many kids running around.
Yeah.
And of course, people tell us we don't have any authority to tell them.
I agree, the
It's
supervising.
a really, it looks like it's an easy job, it's not an easy
No,
job.
I know it's not,
So,
yes.
I don't, you know. it's up to you guys.
Somehow though, we need to accommodate, you know, the majority of the different needs in the community and, you know, people get frustrated when our golf courses shut down at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
And our swimming pool shuts down at 6 p.m. And you know, believe it or not, there's a lot of people that live in Holiday Island now that have jobs. And hopefully there's gonna be more and more of them. And so we just need to pay attention to what their needs are. And if we need to hire another part-time person or two to extend that shift so that we can stay open till 7 p.m., you know, 7 days a week, I think it, you know, that 1 hour could make a big difference to those people. And likewise, the lost revenues on the golf courses by not having anybody to collect greens fees after 4 p.m. That's unfortunate, and we can do better.
Janice, what would be the implications of starting at 10 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. and go 10 to 7?
Well, you'd have
You
your
have-
aerobics people up in arms and you'd have the lap swimmers screaming at you, so. You know, I mean, there's no happy medium here, I'm telling you, there isn't. You just,
How many lap swimmers do we have, Janice?
about 5 or 6.
Okay, we opened an hour early for those 5 or 6.
Well, they come in by themselves at 8 o'clock, and Kim leaves the back gate open, so they can get in and swim for the 8 to 9. We show up at 9.
And the
And believe
aerobics
me,
starts
when
at
we
9.
show up at 9, sometimes there's not a person in the pool until 2 in the afternoon. Sometimes, I mean, you know, it's hit and miss down there.
Yeah.
It is hit and miss no matter what. I mean, somebody says we look like retail when we're sitting there doing nothing. We don't have anybody that came in.
Yeah.
So in this year, being at the island room, we're gonna have to consider not opening the small pool because we cannot see it. We can only see the big pool, and that would be a project to get them to get into, we'd have to do something with the fence. That's another thing you have to consider too. But the small pool is, we can't see it. So there's you know, a lot going on this year with all this stuff and, I don't know, I think messing with the hours right now is a mistake, but.
And that small pool is probably much more of a liability issue than the big pool.
Both.
Yeah, they both are. All right, let's do first things first. We got to make, are we ready to make a motion on the pool fees? Is someone ready to do that? Mister, let's double it.
Okay. This is going to really be big.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna write it down so that we can have it.
I would make a motion that we retain the current family pass property owner policy as it's been in place for the last couple of years for the use of the pools, but that we increase the annual family pass to a $200 fee including tax
Okay.
as compared to the $176 that it was prior.
Okay.
That we leave the daily pass per person as it is today
$5.
for property owners or guests. That we limit the family pass to a household number of 5 per household. Pardon?
Oh, you're gonna limit the family pass to 5 and nobody else?
Let's finish the motion and discuss it. Yeah.
That we limit the family pass to 5 family members. And anyone beyond that would pay the daily pass. And then we'll move on to nightly rentals. And that we have a fee that the property owner pays of $600 per season to be able to offer their property, the pool as an amenity to their property, and that the guests then, who are above the age of 6, would pay a $9 per person admission to the pool.
I second it.
Chairman Dyer has made a motion, seconded by Commissioner Brown. Still, yeah, I'm not gonna get over it anytime soon. Commissioner Dyer. Say what?
My wife is happy that you're the chair.
Of the annual family pass, $200 including tax. The annual individual pass at $100. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. The daily pass for the property owner at $5. The short-term and long-term rental pass at $600 to be purchased by the property owner. And then the non-property owner who has that pass will pay $9 for a daily pass. And he has made a motion that we limit the family pass to 5 family members. And Commissioner Brown, okay, discussion. And I think we have,
Well, I just had, when you're talking about limited to 5, does that include me, Tina, my grandson is there, plus 5 more grandkids?
No, 2.
Well, see, you're still comparing, you're not apples to apples. Okay, and I don't know who's got 97 people on their list. I've never seen 97 people in the pool period. But if I've got 6 grand-
Steve.
Well, I mean, still, you're not comparing apples to apples, and now you're changing the requirements of the thing. The other thing that I would mention is, I think there needs to be a distinction between short-term, VRBO, whatever you call it, and long-term rentals. People that rent a home here for a year on a year lease, in my opinion, should be given the same benefit at the pool that a homeowner resident gets.
I think we have a process in place today.
Well, yeah, but when you just made your motion, she said short and long-term rentals.
are we not gonna, I mean, if that person is renting their home,
What's the
The long-term rental is a guest of the property owner. They bring in a copy, or the property owner contacts me and says, this person can come in as my guest. They pay the guest fee because they are long-term. They're there for 5, 10, 6 years. The short-term is totally different than the long-term.
Just seems to me
They
that-
still have to go in as a guest though, not a property owner fee.
just seems to me that that person is also making money off of their property and they should have to pay in the same way that a short-term rental does.
Well,
Trust me, you don't make that much money on a long-term rental.
No, you don't.
There's a big difference between
I lost
VRBOs
money
and
renting out my father's house for several years.
There you go.
All right, so that would be for short-term rentals.
short-term, yeah.
All right, all right.
And are we gonna have discussion?
Yes,
If,
discussion.
if you all want to take the limit of 5 out of my motion, that's perfectly all right. I was just trying to find a way to cap how many people these people could claim.
As a seconder, I would agree with that.
So we're modifying the motion to rescind that.
Right.
Okay, let me recap. Annual family pass, maximum of $200 to be used as in the past. Individual pass for property owner resident, $100. The daily pass for property owner, $5. The short-term rental pass to be purchased by the property owner, $600. And then $9 for the non-property owner daily pass. Is that correct?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, is this correct then?
The daily pass would be down to $5 remaining
That's
for
what-
residents.
Yes,
For-
as it is.
and
For the
so
resident.
6.
and $9. I can only, can't see that well enough.
I can't say that.
It says $9 rental property pool pass required.
Okay, $9 pool, yes, and that is correct, $9. All right,
And leaving the property owner individual at 5, which is what it was last year.
Yes.
Yes.
No increase there.
no increase there. All right, do we have any more discussion? Okay, we have a motion on the table. I think, all in favor?
Uh,
All right, so we've established our.
I feel chlorine in my eyes.
And you know, one of the things I would like, Janice, if you don't have anything else to do, I can tell just by listening to all the administration details of all of this. It would be nice to research and see how other pools deal with, you know, that extended family kind of thing.
So did we limit it to 5? or
No, we did not. We left it as it was in the past.
Alright.
But we know there is abuse. I've heard myself of where people bring their friends,
Yeah.
children in and claim them as grandchildren. I think you ought to have to at least list them somehow or another.
And we do list them, and like I said, there's somebody that has like 12 and 13 listed here, not that they all come at the same time.
Yeah.
But yes, it's easy to say the grandkids, we don't want to grant.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't ask the question. the students.
I am going to entertain a 5-minute break. Suzanne's had way too much coffee this morning. Before we get, the rest of this should go fairly rapidly. 5 minutes. You beat me on the door.
He's not. Sir. All right. Little different. I do have something I'll present to you.
I always feel left out.
How are you?
We're good, Mr. Steve.
Steve, I'm Larry Steve.
Larry.
I'm Mr.
I should say, I said old military park.
That's okay.
A little horseshoe stuff.
Okay.
Like the ask about your list.
Yes.
Thanks for staying. I sent you an email the other day.
Yes, you did.
Okay, I don't know if you
I
got
got it. Thank you very much.
it, but I appreciate it. I
Well,
appreciate you
state
saying
requires.
those things.
Well, I think that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Lots of discussion.
Many, many years ago, we had wrist bands.
Yeah, I don't remember those, but okay.
It was before y'all moved here.
Well, my parents moved in '86.
Well, it was back in the seventies.
Okay.
Because we had a couple of ministers.
Oh, my Lord. Okay.
And anyway, we had green ones, red ones, black.
So it's like, so you know who they are. Well, it sounds like a good idea.
It was an idea of always swimming.
Well, I remember. Parents had no money, task force. So we had that, so
Uh-huh.
you didn't get in trouble with that.
But that. We got that another project. We had that. too. So it's always been a problem.
You all moved here at 81.
My parents did, I visited until then,
What did they do?
69.
Thank you for answering.
All right. Little yellow house, Carroll. Yeah, right. Number.
Which would be.
He and I talked about that.
We
talked
about
it. We talked about it. I set foot in the office 3 times.
I wouldn't want to. I don't like.
And the only reason I did that, the
Yeah.
beer was free, I had one. But, I see the next meeting all the time. I see what's in 1 or 2 ways. He's over there want to pay for everything. He's over there shut down. Well, when it was we rented for 6 months. That's what we did. I wasn't happy with everything. But to me, it seems foolish to buy a price here and say,
All you need to do is tell me, drive over by King River, right off 39 highway. It's what that golf course looks like.
Well.
I remember that.
It's a weird deal. Like, that day.
If you could sell it all. I mean, I lived there. And there was a house that sold it. Except for the
For me, and then we should be starting this day.
I mean, it doesn't mean we can't do better with money. Everybody went up there, but you know, we can do better here.
I'll make sure.
That's the, oh.
You're very welcome.
Carol's brother was in a couple of weeks ago, and he was in town golfing. He played that in the 9 hours.
All right.
Didn't take that long, and he was gone.
Yes.
So I can, you know,
May have it up there.
I told him I couldn't help you because and if I take how cheap the county taxes are. Which
Yeah, that's what I was like, hey, that's fine. I can give you.
and then Mary's assessment.
I know that tomorrow they have.
Property taxes.
I look at it as what I paid for city park and property tax in our house.
It was interesting when you're gone. I was like, hey,
It's way
I would have been here.
cheaper.
But that is right over.
I like the house.
Hopefully we can get taken.
And you know,
care of.
every town that has a municipal golf course subsidizes their trails. None of them got one. So if you've got a town that has a parks and recreation department, and you've got a team of pools, and you've got public golf courses, the taxpayers are subsidizing. My biggest concern, and I don't have to work this every time, is the stem. That is my biggest fear. The age and see, I live on Horseshoe.
She's now in
These.
Apex.
I went to the planning commission, went to the commission, so, you know, he told me, I know the truth, that Horseshoe was the original developed street on the island.
Probably
So I live in the Lost part of the island. And here 6, 8 months ago, the fire department was flushing hydrants. And when he turned it off, I guess he turned it off too fast. And everybody was lane.
All right.
But that,
Well,
you
we'll
know,
talk
I'm
with you
looking at
later.
me something.
All right.
You turn it off too fast and it rushes.
Okay.
Plus you learn. Horseshoe.
But I tell you what.
Got my neighbors all around that, so it's all I saw.
I got cold.
I did too.
Didn't know he had 3 minutes, but he wanted to tell you.
One thing I agree with me,
Not currently, no, we want.
Yeah.
And.
I hope I I've got all my shots. I've had it.
I can just hear it now. Yeah, I can just hear it.
One thing I do agree with you talk about those guys.
Well,
If you want to pass it.
Thank you. And we can have
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Those guys, they're.
I know this is entertaining.
Yeah.
They do a good job.
All right, let's get back and finish this up. Ken apologized, he had to leave and take his.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's chilly.
So he had to take his wife to a doctor's appointment.
Okay.
All right, let's move ahead. I think we can get through this pretty quickly. Facility rental fees consideration, sir.
Oh, that's the
Okay.
clubhouse.
That's gonna be, yes, ma'am.
Starting back up.
I thought the easiest way to do this might be to print a copy of an email correspondence that I had with Lauren. And Lauren gives some explanation there about why revenues were down, and it's because of COVID.
Sure.
And they made some adjustments during the pandemic, which is totally understandable. And when we went back and looked at, and if I may, I would like to refer to the revenue for the clubhouse. And you'll see that we had projected $7,500 clubhouse revenue on the original chart that I did. It didn't look right. I mean, it was showing a negative number because of a deposit we had to issue and so forth. But after some research and looking at that, we did have $2,332 of revenue for the clubhouse.
Good.
Still lower than average because of COVID, but
Not a negative number.
not a negative number. And you can see here in this email what the fees are for rental of the ballroom and then room A and room B. And I was looking in this email. I don't see it in here. I would have to go back and look at our records. Not sure how long it's been since these fees were increased.
Well, what we could do now is make a motion that we resume charges for the ballroom as they have been in the past. And if you discover that we haven't made any modifications, then we could do that at a later date.
Yeah, I think that would be a good
Yeah, I
idea.
agree with that.
Would that work for
Yeah,
everybody?
yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
someone that could make a motion to that point?
I know now.
Do it like I do, just sort of ad lib as you go along.
I suggest that we leave, do the charges as presented here. And if, after research, if we decide that it needs to be more, we can amend them at that point in time.
Very good, thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Stamps has made a motion that we resume charging fees for the ballroom and other smaller rooms in the clubhouse as we have in the past. Commissioner Surratt has seconded that motion. All in favor? Aye. All right, motion has passed.
You need to know the ground is gone.
Yes, Commissioner Brown is not, we have 4 members that voted yes. Commissioner Brown had to leave for an appointment. All right, let's move along to the marina slip fees. Mr. Presley, you want to talk about those a little?
Yes. Madam Chairman, you'll notice on this information that was provided to you that the current prices for marina slip fees began in 2019. And as we've said several times in the meeting today, the cost of business is increasing. And our fees have not kept pace with the cost of doing business at the marina. It is expensive to maintain that marina. And not just the new walkway that we did, but just the various maintenance and upkeep of operating the marina. And as you can see there, I believe that we are due for an increase. And I'm curious as to why on this spreadsheet it shows 2019 and above that says plus 5%, 2020 plus 5%. But
The prices were the same.
But the prices are the same.
27.
And then in 2021, the prices are the same. I think at a minimum, a 10% increase would be justified at this point.
Do we know if those rates are in line with the market rates around here? Do you see anybody have a boat that knows?
I think what that is, Danny, is it says percentage increase from 2020 to 2015. So I think that's going back to. I don't know, maybe that's not right. Doesn't matter.
That's what it says. It
What we
doesn't.
know is that the last 2-3 years, they've been the same.
Yeah.
No increase for 3 years. It's
It looks like in 16, 17, and 18, and 19, they did 5% each
Yeah,
year.
right.
And then in 20 and 21, there was no increase.
No,
Yeah.
Because of COVID.
And when I look at these base prices, for example, in 2020, the base price was $1,069.95, $817.73. Those look to be very random numbers. I'm not sure how they arrived at those numbers. I'm kind of a fan of simplifying things and maybe making those some even numbers. I don't know how they arrived at those.
85 cents, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, 73 cents.
I think it's because they were doing a percentage increase probably.
I guess so.
When do those bills go out?
February or March. We try,
It should be going to effect March.
they go into effect March 1, but we did charge them for pest control, an additional fee. this
Yeah, I
last
see that's
year.
on your $75.
I was gonna suggest that we waited till February to get a proposal worked out between you and Colin, but that may be too late administratively to do that.
I do know that when I spoke to Colin, he, just in general terms, he was in agreement that it's time for an increase.
Okay.
And we didn't talk specifics, but
What if we proposed a 10% across the board increase and each fee class would then round up to the nearest even
Something
Even
even.
dollar.
Yeah.
$10, you
Even
know?
$5
to the nearest.
Right.
Yeah, in $5
Yeah, like we
increments.
did.
$5 in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would agree wholeheartedly with that, respecting the fact that this is a board decision, but I like the idea.
because that would put the rate roughly, not roughly, I did 10% of the 1144.85, and just going up $115 on it, and then round that up to even 1,200. I'd make it $1,250.
That's what I came up with 1258, and I was thinking just make it 1250, you
Now,
know.
that's after tax,
Yeah,
That's right.
correct?
right.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, these include tax?
Yeah, there's a tax at 7%.
So maybe that's why they're so strange looking.
Well, the
Well, the
base
base
fee
rate-
is
the base fee is
$1,069.95.
Yeah.
Added 7% tax makes it $1,144.85.
The 1250 would include tax.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so 1250 or 1260 if you made it the.
Does that sound logical to everybody?
Yep.
Somebody want to?
Well, I can, if you'd like, we could quickly do the same calculation.
Well, most of these, yeah, the first three. Why do I have?
Then we got uncovered, but
So then you're at 962.
Yeah, which we were gonna make increments of $5, so I would make that 965.
Yeah.
And then 1521. 05 times 1.
1673.
Yeah,
1675.
1675.
Yeah.
And then we got 1615.
1776.
1775.
Round that one down.
1780.
75.
75.
Round that one down.
1775.
So
So
the
you rounded down.
He rounded down. on the-
1250,
12.
965, 1675, and 1775,
Correct. Not 12.
Including tax.
including tax.
Including tax. All right, somebody want to make that in the form of a motion?
I just did.
All right,
I'll second it.
Commissioner Stamps made a motion that our lease rates will be 1250, 965, 1675, and 1775, depending on the size of the slip,
Including
Seconded.
tax.
including tax, seconded by Commissioner Dyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Easy.
All easy peasy.
Yes, thank you, board, and I'll make sure that those go into effect March 1st.
Okay, we need to discuss the employee sick leave exchange for floating holidays. We talked about that last week. I had an email on that indicating that most companies have even gotten away from calling things sick leave, personal leave, all of those other kind of leaves. They just call it personal time off, PTO, because
time.
people are going to take time off if they've got to have it.
Yep.
And so I did not see any issue with this leave policy that I have stacked up in here somewhere. Any discussion on the policy?
The only thing that there, like, if there's a death in the family,
Yes.
okay, that should, I don't think that should count against the leave.
Should be bereaved.
Bereavement. I think that should be not counted as one a sick day or anything like that. It should be a paid day.
Do we not
Do
have?
you have bereavement days?
I have in past experience seen that bereavement leave was provided to the employee without it taking away from their leave balance. 2 days, and if it was an out of state, it was 3 days.
I think that's in order.
I just have never run across that. If you have death in the family, you take leave.
So could we establish this exchange policy and then have Danny put together a suggested bereavement leave benefit
Yeah.
that we could deal with at our next meeting?
Yes. Let's
Do that.
Let's do that.
We could do that.
And in conjunction with that, if the board would like, I would also bring you kind of the implications and the totals of all leave combined as paid time off, PTO. And just show you kind of what that would look like.
Yep.
I mean,
And be sure to specify exactly which relatives are covered by the bereavement.
Good point.
Yes.
I think that employee handbook that I gave you last month might have
Yes, sir.
boilerplate.
I'm sure that it does.
Yep.
And yes, sir. I'll get that.
Good.
All right, so would someone make a motion to accept the employee sick leave exchange policy?
Take from your.
I would make the motion to accept the
I think
employee sick leave exchange for floating holidays as presented by the district manager.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Dyer has made a motion to accept the employee sick leave exchange for floating holiday policy as provided by the district manager. Commissioner Surratt has seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
You notice I called it leave and not lease.
Lisa.
Right. See, my eyes just glazed over that. It does say lease, doesn't it?
Autocorrect.
Hey, I figured somebody typed this out on the phone. I'm terrible at
With their thumbs.
it. With it.
All right, we have, our next new business policy is, we have a document that needs to be provided to the, John Hancock Insurance Company that has to do with 401k, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Correcting the name of our policy and also making Mr. Presley the contact person, I guess. Do I have a motion to accept that?
Yes.
And
That's exactly
Commissioners, Commissioner Stamps made a motion to accept the resolution 2022 R1 HICID Deferred Compensation Trust Plan, a correcting resolution 2021 R2, seconded by Commissioner Surratt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Moving to public comments. Do we have any public comments?
We have no public.
Oh, we know public comments. Do we have any commissioner comments?
I'd just like to say, I think everybody did a very good job today of working through some hot topic issues for the community.
I think so too.
And I think what we've come up with is very reasonable and should work out well for everyone.
I'll say.
Thank you all.
My comment is going to be the work session paid off today.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
It paid off
It
today.
really did. Oh, we would have been here forever
Yes, we
otherwise.
would.
Yes.
We'll reluctantly give you credit for that.
Yes.
May I mention something? The office staff mentioned that could we shift things forward 1 week? Rather than having a work session on the second and third, we could have a work session on the third and then meeting on the fourth. And what would the consequences or implications be for the board if we shifted that? I mean, based on whatever you have going on in your lives, I know you're all busy. Would that be?
That is not a problem for me.
Nor I.
And if it helps in terms of,
Information
Yeah,
and all this
information,
other kind of
yeah.
stuff, I think it'd be beneficial.
I don't have a problem.
It helps. There were some other things that she mentioned that I can't remember off the top of my head, but particularly as it relates to the financials.
Yes.
Because our goal is to have the financials to this board on that meeting from the previous month. And it would give us 1 more week to do that. And perhaps be able to provide you with the financials at the workshop session, which would be, I think, third
Would be
Monday.
third Monday.
And then the fourth Monday, I guess, if the board votes to officially accept or receive the financials for the previous month.
I have a question. Our work sessions, is that an every month thing? Do we have a work session every month?
Yes,
Well,
I think we should.
we've decided to do that
Okay.
just recently, so, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know whether that was an exception for this month or.
I would think that if there's
As
just,
needed.
yeah, as needed. I mean, there might be months that there's just like,
Well, I remember in years past, there were regular meetings of the commission that were canceled.
we're
just for
canceled,
lack of
yeah,
business.
yeah, exactly.
Rather than
Well,
schedule
I
something.
think let's schedule it.
Yeah,
And if there's,
schedule it.
if there's not anything, then we can.
Right, I
That's
agree,
fine.
I agree, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Normally we would have it, but there could be times that there's just not anything, you know, we've
Yeah.
dealt with some heavy topics with budget and,
Yeah, we're in
and all of these
busy-
fees, you know,
busy time.
so.
I think
Thank
you might check, I think though, that in the regulations for holiday hour, it calls out,
You
the
are,
regular meeting will be held on the third.
you are correct. It would require a change to the code of regulations, which would be a board action, of course.
But it also says something
it makes sense.
It said something about you could have meetings whenever you wanted to have meetings, essentially.
Special.
Look into it, and if we need to make a board resolution, I don't care.
Okay, I'll do some research on the code and see if it requires board action to go from the second and third to third and fourth.
Yes. Which brings us on to the agenda scheduling, which the third Monday of next month is President's Day, which is a holiday for Tyson employees, as well as a federal holiday, which, by the way, this was a federal holiday. And Carl told me he got a couple of calls about that we were having a
I wonder who from.
meeting on there. Not sure, but it is something I think we need to be aware of in the future. So anyway, do we want to move to, instead of having our work session on February the 21st, since you guys aren't going to be working, and I doubt if y'all want to come in on the day off, on Tuesday?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Tuesday, the 22nd will be the work session, and then the regular meeting would be February the 28th.
Tuesday, the 22nd.
Tuesday, the 22nd, Monday, February 28th. That work for everybody?
Do I have to be here for the work session?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll get a sub for bridge. That's fine.
Oh, that's right.
I'll get a sub. It's not an issue.
Maybe you'll be fast. What time do y'all start?
9 o'clock.
Oh, well, that won't work. That won't work.
No, it's fine. It's
All right.
fine.
All right.
I'll work around it.
Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Commissioner Stamps has made a motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Surratt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and it is now like 12:01 maybe?
12:01 by my trustee.
12:01.
Thank
Thank you, folks.
Stuff today. Are the SIG cards here for banking?
I hope so.
Yes, I signed a bunch of stuff. Carl has a lot, yes, before you leave.
Yeah,
Because I have a lot of stuff to sign for the bank, so you might